Now I've replaced the handle switch, the kill switch in there. I've tested it from the end of this wire here to ground, and it's open when the switch is open and it's closed when the switch is closed. So I know that problem has been eliminated. So now what we're going to do is test the capacitor. Right now I've got open line. I think you can see that OL there. We're going to test this capacitor here. We're inside the Magneto. This cylindrical object right here is the capacitor. Now it should read open, and when I go to the body of the capacitor, to the end of the wire there where it's screwed in, I've got continuity. So that tells me that capacitor is bad, because I got a brand new one sitting over there on the back of the truck, and I just tested it and it's open. So we're going to loosen this screw, take this capacitor out, put a new capacitor in, and then recheck the resistance from the kill button to the body of the Magneto, and it should read open line. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of weird. There we go. There we go. We got continuity there. Well, now what I'm going to do is completely remove the Magneto and put it on the bench, do some inspection and bench testing. To get the Magneto off, I really need to remove that wheel. It's got 3 bolts that hold the wheel to the hub. I've removed those. I removed those last night, and it was going nowhere. So I soaked it with a penetrating lubricant around the edge of the hub there. And I thought, well, you know, this muffler's in bad shape. This is not the original muffler. I really want to put either put an original type muffler on there or repair this one, which is probably what's going to happen. I'm gonna it's kind of thin back over here, pretty solid back in here. I'll probably take a chop saw, cut this thing off, clean the end of it up and move it back and weld it on. But to do that, I need to get it off the tractor, and of course this stuff is married together pretty good. It you know, it's been sitting, it's been in this configuration for a long time, and the cast fittings are welded just about. So I soaked those, I heated them, I tried everything. I couldn't get it to turn, and I did notice while I was messing with it that the exhaust flange right here where it goes into the head has a little play in it. You can see right there. So I said, well, heck, I'll just take it off right there. 2 bolts, no problem. Well, of course, they're welded pretty much in there too from corrosion. So I got those soaking last night. Right now what I'm going to try to do is take a broom handle from the other side, run it under the tractor, and try to knock this wheel off with a broom handle and a hammer. See how that goes. Alright, so I got the split rim bolt down here at just about the 6 o'clock position, and I was able to finally get somewhere here. I heard it breaking loose, or felt it breaking loose. I got the end of the broom handle right on the nut of that split wheel. It's loosened up. Now it just needs to come off evenly, and I'll be good to go. There we are. Whew, man, that was tough. So, like I said, I put the end of the broom handle right on that nut, the end of that bolt, and using the hammer and the broom handle. That's how I got it loose. Alright. That problem's out of the way. Now I gotta get a new hubcap. It's one thing after another. It'll be worth it in the end though. So now we're gonna get I think a 9/16 inch wrench and take these two bolts out here. I've already loosened the coupling nut for the Magneto, and so I should be able to remove that Magneto here in just a second. Okay, so I got the Magneto removed, and it was just full of junk under here. The mating surface was really nasty, so I cleaned all that out, blew it out a little bit, found some numbers on the side here. So I'm hoping what I'm seeing is manufacturer date, which is 3/4/68, and it would be a WICO XH, and then there's a number here 2533. I'm not sure what that significance is, if it's a serial number, model number. I think it's just XH. So problem is I've created a new problem. Of course, I was cleaning this thing. There's still some stuff in this little gap here. Turned it up on its side and was kind of knocking them. You can probably see the debris that's coming out of here. Anyway, I'm assuming by doing that, turning it this way and rotating it, that I have goofed up something inside, because now I can't get it to turn and hit. So we're going to mount it in the vise and start taking this thing apart and see what it was that I have done. I'm thinking, this is my first time into a Magneto, but I'm believing at this point, just by looking at it, that my problem is right here. I think this is not supposed to be touching the side of the Magneto. I believe. Could be wrong. But that would cause my direct short in between my kill switch and the case, because the kill switch, you have an insulated contraption here where this stud can pass through the case and not ground to the case. The wire follows around, connects to the points and condenser and the coil right here. The wire goes up and behind the coil, but this wire comes out of the coil and it looks like it's touching the case right there. Now, why that would just happen from sitting there in the yard for a few years, I have no idea, but I've got to fix this other problem first where I can get it to fire again. One thing after another. Mount the device, see what we can do. Okay, this little cover here looks like it'll slip off. Maybe I can get a look inside without having to go too far with it. Or not. Still more fasteners. Looks like it's coming. Slowly. There it is. Oh, that's rusty as heck in there. That don't look good at all. Ugh. Alright, so that stuff that I was trying to remove is actually a cork seal, and it is dry rotted bad. I would imagine this little inside plate comes off so you can replace that seal. Yep, I imagine so. But there's no need in taking that apart at this point because I don't have that seal. Alright. Just about to the point where I got to hunt down one of the Magneto professionals in the country. A couple of them. I might have a phone number. I tried to do some research last night. If I find that guy, and he's pretty reasonable, then I imagine I'm going to send this thing to him before I completely screw this Magneto up. But I'm going to try it first. Loosen all this crud up here. About time for the blower. So I've got this thing blown out. And I don't see where, you know, spinning it backwards or operating it in a different position or anything would have any consequences on this thing. But what I do see is that, you know, this side of the Magneto is all mechanical. You get this little paw that slings out, catches on this riser here, which should push the paw back in and make things work, but it's not doing that easily. So it's a you know, a metal to metal surface. Why wouldn't it be lubricated? That's where I'm going next here. If I can get this Lubriplate. It's a white lithium. Get it mixed up. I'm gonna put a dab on there and try it. Just a dab on the riser and maybe on the paw, just to get things moving easier. Okay. Just learned a lesson. Don't assume your Magneto doesn't work. I got this. I put a little Lubriplate on this ramp and the paw, and it's working better. It still seems like it needs some help, but I was turning. I had my hand back here on the back side, and now the cover's removed, so this little bump here on the coil, that's where your spark comes out. You know, that's where your coil wire actually connects here and goes to the spark plug. So all the fire comes to that little point. And I was working this thing, you know, rotating it around, trying to get it freed up, and had my hand back here supporting it in the vise while I was turning it. And guess what? I've got fire. But I'm going to keep working on it. I'm going to get it cleaned up, make sure everything's working, the points are adjusted correctly. I've actually got brand new points. Well, I believe I've got the mechanical problem figured out. It was really just dry. As far as I can tell, it was just dry. So I've got some needle nose locking pliers on there, and it's turning easily. It's hitting, you know, acting like it was a few days ago. Now, I'm going to turn this thing around and work on the other side. Okay, so what you've got on the other side is the coil, the condenser, which is new. I replaced it yesterday. That can be replaced on the tractor. I would highly recommend that you remove the oil filter if you have a model like mine, because the oil filter is right here, and the clearance to get this screw out is literally almost just a little bit longer than the bit that I had to use to get that screw out. Once you pull this screw out, the spring from the points flings out, and you've got 3 different electrical connectors that go to that screw. It took me probably 15 minutes to get that off and change out that condenser. So it is very possible, but it would have been way easier to remove the oil filter that was in the way. So new condenser, here's your points. There's actually the contact for the points right there. I cleaned those up the other day, but it was in the tractor when I did it, so I'm going to clean them again and check the gap. And this is an oil felt. You're supposed to put 3 drops of oil on that felt, and that's to lubricate the moving parts here. See, this thing wipes around. It wipes oil on that shaft. So when I opened this felt was nowhere near touching that shaft, and I don't know how long that's been that way. So I actually removed it and scooted it over and put it back in. This is a replaceable component, and the new points come with a new felt. So if you need any parts for this kind of stuff, you can just get online and go to Richard's Lawn, something like that. I'll give them a link, a plug in the description. But they've been really helpful. They've got a lot of parts for these old tractors, and they're keeping them on the road or in the field, if you will. But let me gap this thing out and check it out.